Reality is not what you have been led to believe. From the moment you first perceived this world, you have been subtly guided to interpret it through a lens crafted by external forces, a perspective that often presents the universe as fragmented, disconnected, and ultimately chaotic. But what if this lens was not intended to illuminate understanding, but rather to maintain a veil of illusion? There exists a hidden framework, a body of knowledge predating established religions and untouched by rigid dogma, possessing a profound influence far exceeding the scope of conventional spiritual teachings. This framework is known as Hermeticism, and at its core lie 7 fundamental principles, not mere rules or commandments, but immutable and unseen laws that govern every facet of existence. These laws shape your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships, and the very reality you inhabit. Belief in them is not a prerequisite for their operation. They function regardless of acknowledgement, much like the unwavering force of gravity. However, a genuine understanding of these principles initiates a transformative shift in perspective. The apparent chaos begins to reveal underlying order. Pain finds purpose, and the power you once perceived as external is recognized as an inherent attribute, waiting to be harnessed. The majority of individuals traverse life under the assumption that existence is inherently random, attributing events to chance occurrences, labeling some as fortunate and others as unlucky, and focusing on merely surviving. But what if this perception is fundamentally flawed? What if every event, even those seemingly chaotic, is governed by a set of laws so precise and consistent that comprehending them unlocks a blueprint of reality itself? The 7 Hermetic principles represent precisely that. Ancient wisdom attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a figure revered as part god, part sage, and the source of all esoteric knowledge. These teachings were not preserved for mere veneration, but for practical application. They were understood by alchemists, mystics, and great thinkers throughout history, yet deliberately concealed beneath layers of symbolism, secrecy, and misinterpretation until this moment. Consider this potentially unsettling truth. Reality is fundamentally mental. This is the essence of the first principle: mentalism, all is mind. This is not a metaphorical concept. It asserts that the very fabric of your experience is consciousness. It extends beyond your personal thoughts, encompassing the field in which your thoughts arise. You do not merely exist within the world exists within you. Your consciousness serves as the canvas upon which reality is painted. This explains why 2 individuals can experience the same event and perceive vastly different realities. Truth is not determined by external circumstances, but by the individual observer. While this concept may initially seem abstract, science is increasingly validating its premise. Quantum physics has demonstrated that observation influences matter. The double-slit experiment famously revealed that particles behave differently when observed, substantiating the idea that the mind shapes matter, a constant interplay throughout existence. The second principle, correspondence, carries equal weight. As above, so below, as within, so without. The universe operates as a fractal, with patterns repeating across all scales. Your inner world directly reflects your outer world, and vice versa. This is not mere self-help rhetoric. It is a fundamental truth evident in geometry, biology, cosmology, and consciousness itself. Internal chaos manifests as external disorder, while a clear, focused, and grounded inner state creates a corresponding reflection in the external world. This is not a suggestion. It is an inevitable consequence of the law of correspondence. It is at this point that many individuals cease to listen. The concept may seem too simplistic, lacking the complexity expected of such a fundamental truth. Yet, it is precisely this simplicity that allows it to remain hidden in plain sight. Your mind, your beliefs, and your emotions are not peripheral elements in the narrative of your life. They are the very authors of that narrative. The system we inhabit has actively sought to distract you from this truth, recognizing that an understanding of the power of your mind would render you uncontrollable. If you are prepared to delve deeper into knowledge that is unapologetically real, undeniably raw, and perhaps too controversial for mainstream platforms, then continue. Building upon each other, the Hermetic principles form a cohesive whole, akin to pieces of a puzzle revealing a complete picture that shatters the illusion of separation and limitation. The third principle, vibration, asserts that nothing is at rest. Everything is in constant motion. At the most fundamental level, molecules, atoms, and subatomic particles are in perpetual activity. This motion manifests as energy, frequency, and vibration. Your emotions possess frequencies, your thoughts possess frequencies, and, like a tuning fork, you attract that which resonates with your own vibrational state. This is not a vague notion of vibes. It is resonance, entrainment, sympathetic vibration terms recognized in physics, music theory, and neuroscience. Anxiety, anger, or persistent fear create a matching frequency, which elicits a corresponding response from your reality. The key lies in elevating your frequency through conscious awareness, focused breathing, purposeful action, and alignment with your true self. This knowledge is not intended for worship or to fuel spiritual ego. It is a practical tool for self-mastery. It is not acquired to impress others, but to be lived, tested, and observed. Notice how your life responds when you shift your internal state, challenge limiting beliefs, and assume responsibility for your inner world rather than waiting for external circumstances to change. The 7 Hermetic principles do not demand belief, they demand awareness. They are indifferent to your spiritual orientation, religious affiliation, or lack thereof. They simply exist like gravity, time, and breath. You have been given a key. The question is, what will you unlock? For a significant portion of your life, these laws have remained invisible, not because they are concealed, but because you were never taught how to perceive them. This is the underlying deception. The most potent truths are not typically locked away in hidden vaults or obscure temples. They are readily accessible, woven into the fabric of everyday life. The challenge lies in the fact that you have been conditioned to overlook them, distracted, and drawn into a system that benefits from your ignorance. If the Hermetic laws were universally understood, the very structure of society would be compelled to transform, a prospect resisted by those who profit from the existing order. Examine the educational system, the media landscape, and the conventional modes of interpreting reality. You were never encouraged to explore the profound connection between your thoughts and your experiences. Instead, you were taught that life merely happens to you, that you are a physical entity with a brain confined to a material world, and that your purpose is to conform, achieve academic success, obey authority, work diligently, consume excessively, and repeat the cycle. You were never taught that your mind is the architect of your personal universe, that vibration and polarity shape every outcome, or that rhythm governs every phase of your life. Why? Because conscious creators do not blindly follow prescribed rules. They question, challenge, and rewrite a prospect that terrifies the system. The 4th principle, polarity, serves as the ultimate decoder ring. Everything possesses its pair of opposites, love and hate, light and darkness, success and failure. However, these are not distinct entities, but rather manifestations of the same underlying energy existing on opposite ends of a spectrum. Heat and cold are both expressions of temperature, differing only in degree. This principle reveals that the objects of your fear and desire often reside in close proximity, and the ability to shift your state along this spectrum empowers you. Overcome by fear, shift toward courage. Feeling apathetic, cultivate curiosity. The transformation does not require a leap from one extreme to another. A subtle adjustment is often sufficient. This is not simply ancient philosophy, it is practical psychology, cognitive reframing, and emotional regulation. Even modern therapeutic approaches echo this Hermetic truth. The world is not defined by binaries, but by continuous scales. You are not confined to your current position. You are merely anchored to a point from which movement is possible. Most individuals fail to realize this potential for change, remaining trapped in absolutes. Good versus bad, success versus failure, right versus wrong. Polarity shatters these constraints. It is not about denying reality, but about mastering the art of shifting it. Recognition of polarity allows you to perceive it everywhere in arguments, political ideologies, and personal labeling. It reveals how quickly perception solidifies into identity, and how easily manipulation occurs when only extremes are visible. This law alone has the potential to resolve countless conflicts, provided it is understood not only intellectually but energetically. By ceasing to react to the poles and instead working with the spectrum, you reclaim your center, and in your center lies power. The 5th principle is rhythm. Everything flows in and out, everything rises and falls. This is not merely a poetic observation. It is an empirical truth. You inhale, you exhale. Tides ebb and flow. Emotions surge and subside. Relationships flourish and decline. The common misunderstanding lies in perceiving rhythm as an adversary to be resisted. The lows are fought, the highs are clung to, and certain phases are condemned as inherently negative. However, life is not a straight line. It is a wave. Resistance to the wave only intensifies suffering. True mastery lies not in controlling the rhythm, but in gracefully riding it. This involves aligning your actions with the natural tides of energy in your life, refraining from self-blame during periods of rest or reflection, avoiding forced outcomes during phases of contraction, and building momentum during expansion. This is the way of creators, the flow of energy. Abundance, inspiration, and healing all possess a rhythm. While not always linear, this rhythm is inherently intelligent, and aligning with this intelligence transforms life from a struggle into a dance. Many individuals, upon hearing these principles, seek practical application. How do I use this? This question reveals a fundamental misunderstanding. These laws are not techniques, but frameworks, filters through which to perceive reality. They do not bestow power, but reveal how you are already wielding it. Every thought, belief, and choice operates within this system. You have been governed by these laws regardless of your awareness. The difference now lies in your conscious recognition of their influence. The Hermetic laws were never intended as superstition, but as tools for observation. The ancients were not attempting to impress with mystical riddles, but to provide a map. Over time, this map became obscured by layers of symbolism, metaphor, and misinterpretation. However, when this obscuration is removed, the underlying truth becomes evident. You have held the key all along. You simply lack the knowledge of how to use it. Everything you perceive, sight, touch, sound, belief, and dream originates in the mind. This is not poetic license. It is the first Hermetic principle, mentalism, asserting the universe's mental nature. Reality, in essence, is consciousness. Every existing entity began as a thought. The entire fabric of existence, from vast galaxies to subtle gut feelings, is a manifestation of mind. However, misunderstanding often arises at this point. This principle does not suggest that life is an illusion, akin to an empty hologram. Rather, it posits that what we perceive as reality is shaped by perception, which is filtered through the mind. Thus, your inner and outer worlds are not separate, but reflections of one another. Your thoughts, beliefs, and internal narratives are not merely background noise, they are the raw materials from which reality constructs itself. If mentalism holds true and your experiences are shaped by your mind, then your mind is not simply a tool, but the operating system, the projector, rather than the screen rendering you the coder. But what occurs when the code running your mind is not your own creation? What if your beliefs about yourself and your potential were instilled before you had the opportunity to choose them? Most individuals operate on programs they did not create. Parental expectations, educational conditioning, social norms, and cultural narratives implant mental truths that shape the foundation of their worldview. I am not good enough. Life is difficult. Money is inherently evil. I always fail. These are not objective observations, but mental blueprints that, according to mentalism, shape the events of your life, not through magical means, but because your perception filters every aspect of your experience. You act in accordance with your beliefs, and the world mirrors these beliefs back to you with perfect fidelity. Herein lies the danger. Lacking an understanding of mentalism, most individuals fault the mirror instead of the mind. They believe that circumstances are independent of consciousness. However, the mirror cannot be altered by shouting at it. It is the source, your mind, that requires change. This is why inner work is not optional, but foundational. Meditation, journaling, therapy, and shadow work are not merely spiritual pursuits, but system updates. This concept is supported not only by ancient wisdom, but by modern science. Quantum physics demonstrates that observation alters the outcome of particle experiments, a fact, not a metaphor. The double-slit experiment reveals that reality behaves differently depending on whether it is being observed. Consider what you observe on a daily basis and the narratives you reinforce. Every thought, whether conscious or unconscious, acts as a vote, and your subconscious mind registers them all. It listens, records, and obeys. This explains the efficacy of affirmations, visualization, and mental rehearsal. The universe does not grant wishes like a genie. Your subconscious mind responds to repetition. Consistent messages of unworthiness will filter your behavior accordingly, while repeated assertions of your power will prompt a search for opportunities that reflect this belief. This is mentalism in motion, not mysticism but mechanics. This principle also explains why most individuals fail to achieve lasting change. They attempt to alter their external lives without addressing their internal worlds. They set goals but sabotage their efforts. They desire love but fear intimacy. They desire abundance but harbor a deep-seated belief in their unworthiness. The subconscious mind disregards desires and instead manifests beliefs. The problem lies not in your reality, but in your mental architecture. Upgrading this architecture reshapes the world around you accordingly. Recognize that you have been given the master key to the entire game. You are not powerless, nor have you ever been. You are simply acting out a script written by another. Mentalism reveals that this script can be rewritten line by line. You are not required to feign positivity or suppress negative thoughts. Instead, you must examine the code, understand it, and deliberately construct a better version, one that is authentic and aligned with your evolving self. This is not a skill mastered in a day. Reprogramming the mind is not a weekend workshop, but a practice and a discipline. However, commitment initiates a shift, not because of divine intervention, but because you remove self-imposed obstacles. Mentalism is not a belief, it is the foundation. All is mind, and if all is mind, then nothing in your life is fixed, not your identity, your past, or your potential. Everything is fluid and malleable. By changing your thoughts and challenging your narratives, you will observe that life bends to your awareness, akin to a shadow that follows the light. That light is you. You may have encountered the phrase, "as above, so below," perhaps dismissing it as mystical poetry or an esoteric passage from an ancient text. However, the principle of correspondence is not merely a catchy phrase, but a universal truth connecting all aspects of existence. It posits that the patterns of the universe repeat across every scale. The macrocosm reflects the microcosm, the outer mirrors the inner, and the unseen shapes the seen. Events occurring on one plane of reality, mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual, echo on all others. This law reveals a fundamental secret to transformation. Changing the world around you begins not with the world itself, but with yourself. Why? Because you are not separate from the system. You are the system in miniature. Just as a single drop contains the entire DNA blueprint of the ocean, your life reflects the broader patterns of the universe. Understanding this law allows you to recognize these patterns everywhere in relationships, nature, history, and your own behavior. The fractals repeat. The design remains consistent. This is not randomness, but sacred geometry. Most individuals perceive their problems as isolated events, attributing them to bad luck or external circumstances. Correspondence teaches you to delve deeper, asking, "What is this reflecting back to me?" Chaotic relationships may indicate internal conflict. An unfulfilling work life may reveal a disconnect from your deeper desires. A life of constant struggle may stem from internal beliefs rooted in lack. The external is an echo, not the source, and this principle operates in both directions. Inner peace can create external clarity, just as external chaos reflects internal turmoil. Aligning your inner world thoughts, emotions, and beliefs with harmony gradually creates a mirroring effect in the external world. The transformation is not instantaneous, but it is inevitable because the law is unwavering. It operates not on luck or worthiness, but on inherent structure. Just as gravity is impartial, correspondence functions irrespective of belief. Understanding this law empowers you to harness it. Consider nature. Galaxies spiral in the same manner as hurricanes. Tree branches mirror the branching patterns of your lungs. The structure of a leaf mirrors the structure of rivers, which in turn mirror the structure of your nervous system. Everything is interconnected, different scales, same blueprint. This is not merely poetic, it is demonstrably true. Modern science is beginning to comprehend what the ancients understood. A divine pattern unites all aspects of existence. Apply this understanding to your mind. Unresolved fear, suppressed guilt, or shame within your subconscious will attract mirroring energies from the universe, not as punishment, but as reflections of what requires healing. By assuming responsibility for your inner world, you shift the power dynamic. You cease to be a victim of circumstance and recognize yourself as the architect of your experience, not through control but through coherence. Therefore, attempting to fix things externally is insufficient. It is akin to cleaning a mirror hoping to improve the reflection. True transformation occurs internally. Cultivate love within to attract more love. Organize your thoughts to achieve clarity. Make peace with yourself to experience peace. This is not self-help jargon. It is physics, energy, and law. Correspondence offers a deeper insight. It is not merely about fixing your life, but about comprehending the nature of life itself. The same energy that propels the stars flows through you. The same intelligence that spins galaxies beats within your heart. You are not a bystander, but a fractal of divinity. The entire universe is not simply around you, it is within you. Living from this awareness transforms life. Every encounter becomes a mirror reflecting aspects of yourself. Every challenge a lesson echoing a deeper truth. Every moment a portal revealing the state of your own consciousness. The universe transforms from a random collection of events into an intimate, alive, and responsive entity because it is. If this realization feels overwhelming, it is meant to. Most individuals sleepwalk through life, believing themselves separate from their surroundings. You are not here for that. You are here to awaken, to transition from victimhood to creation. Correspondence serves as a reminder that nothing is disconnected, nothing is wasted, and nothing happens to you. It happens through you. Everything is energy may seem like motivational rhetoric, but it represents a profoundly accurate, scientifically supported truth. The third Hermetic principle, vibration, states that nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates. This is not a metaphor, it is literal. Every atom, thought, emotion, object, even seemingly solid and still objects, are in constant motion. Apparent stillness is merely vibration at a frequency imperceptible to the human eye. Consequently, everything around you, including yourself, is in a state of perpetual vibration. Your body, mind, mood, and beliefs emit a frequency, and the reality you experience is not random but a product of resonance. You are constantly attracting, repelling, creating, and shaping your reality based on your radiated vibration. Your frequency serves as your signature, a silent language spoken to the universe which responds accordingly. The most commonly overlooked aspect is that your vibration is not fixed. It changes, fluctuates, and most importantly, can be consciously shifted. Training your frequency is analogous to training your body through focus, awareness, repetition, and emotional discipline. Elevating your emotional and mental state consistently attracts experiences at that higher level. A state of fear, stress, guilt, or anger carries a specific vibrational signature low frequency, heavy, contracted. The negative feeling is not merely subjective, it attunes you to a reality that matches that energy. This explains why problems often accumulate when in a bad mood. Your perception narrows, your thoughts darken, and your interactions become destructive. Your low vibration attracts a corresponding reflection from the world. Shifting your state, breathing deeply, connecting to gratitude, moving your body, laughing, creating, or speaking truth alters your frequency and, consequently, the world you inhabit. You begin to notice different details, attract different individuals, generate better ideas, and feel stronger, more capable, and more in sync. The world has not changed, but you have, and this reorganization affects everything around you. Thoughts, emotions, and words are vibrations. This explains the profound effect of affirmations, mantras, and music. The impact lies not solely in the content, but also in the energy they carry. Repeated truths, delivered with conviction, can elevate your overall state. Appropriately chosen music can unlock dormant aspects within you. You are not merely hearing or thinking, you are tuning. This also explains the ability to sense another person's energy without verbal communication. Walking into a room and immediately sensing tension, despite the absence of spoken words, is a perception of vibration. Meeting someone whose presence elevates your energy is also an experience of vibration. We are all transmitters and receivers, constantly exchanging frequencies, often unconsciously. The system rarely acknowledges this truth. In fact, it often ridicules it, because an individual aware of their vibrational power becomes more resistant to manipulation, marketing, and fear. Recognizing that your emotional state is not merely a reaction, but a generator that creates ripples throughout your mind, body, and life would prevent you from allowing media-induced fear, tolerating emotionally draining individuals, or engaging in negative self-talk, knowing that words carry energy, and that energy shapes matter. Raising your vibration is not about maintaining a false pretense of constant positivity. It requires deep honesty, grounding, and emotional sovereignty. It means experiencing emotions without becoming imprisoned by them, observing thoughts without allowing them to dictate your life, and choosing alignment over reaction. That is true elevation. Your frequency is affected by your consumption, not only of food, but also of content, conversations, and environments. Each scroll, conversation, and interaction either lifts or lowers your state. This is not paranoia, but awareness. Becoming intentional about your vibrational hygiene transforms your life. You no longer tolerate gossip, doom scrolling, or emotionally draining habits. You curate your life to support the energy you desire. This is not control, but mastery. Grasping the law of vibration allows you to cease fighting the world or begging reality to change, and instead focus on changing the only element that truly matters, your state. Altering your state changes your frequency, which elicits a corresponding response from reality, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it, becoming it. This principle involves more than fake positivity or magical thinking. It requires energy literacy and understanding of the subtle, invisible mechanics that govern your experience. Elevating your vibration enhances your overall well-being and aligns you with your best self, more powerful, more awake, which prompts extraordinary events. Life ceases to happen to you and instead happens through you, not because of newfound control, but because of newfound coherence. You move from resistance to resonance with the universe. Everything you experience exists in pairs, not because life is inherently cruel or divided, but because duality is the underlying structure that holds reality together. The fourth Hermetic principle, polarity, teaches that everything has two sides, two poles, and that opposites are essentially the same thing expressed in different degrees. Hot and cold, light and dark, love and hate are not separate forces, but the same energy vibrating on opposite ends of a spectrum. This concept is more than just a philosophical idea. It serves as a tool for mastering your emotional and mental reality. Recognizing that every experience exists as part of a spectrum reveals that you are never trapped in a fixed position. Hate is not the absence of love, but love twisted, wounded, and inverted. Fear is not the opposite of power, but power misunderstood. Cold is not the enemy of heat, but a lesser degree of it. This simple shift in perception is transformative. Recognizing your position on a spectrum reveals your ability to move and shift. Most individuals live unconsciously, swinging between extremes. One day they feel confident, the next insecure. One moment is filled with joy, the next with despair. They perceive this chaos as random or indicative of emotional weakness, when in reality it stems from a lack of awareness of the principle of polarity. The goal is not to avoid the lows or pretend they do not exist, but to transmute them, shifting from one pole to the other through awareness, focus, and internal alchemy. This is the hidden power that this law unlocks. You possess the ability to flip the switch. When in a state of fear, you need not force yourself to be fearless. You simply need to shift toward courage. Even a slight adjustment in the right direction will initiate change. Feeling hopeless does not require a leap to full confidence. A spark, a thought, an action, or a conversation can nudge you closer to your desired state. The principle of polarity guarantees that if one end exists, so does the other. Darkness implies the presence of light, albeit at a different frequency. Creating light from scratch is unnecessary. Shifting your position is sufficient. The system thrives on extremes, exploiting them to create division and maintain power. Politics, media, and religion all utilize polarity to manipulate you. Left versus right, us versus them, good versus evil. These constructs encourage you to take sides and remain reactive. Polarity is not about siding with one extreme, it is about deeply understanding both to transcend them. Transcending duality eliminates predictability, which in turn empowers you. This principle extends to relationships. Love and hate, though seemingly opposed, are both charged with intense energy and connection. The true opposite of love is indifference. Hating someone often implies a lingering care. This understanding provides leverage. Ask yourself, what am I truly reacting to? What hidden truth lies beneath this emotion? This insight allows you to shift from conflict to clarity, from reaction to growth. Your perception of the world also undergoes transformation. You cease to label things as rigidly good or bad, and instead perceive contrast, lessons, and movement. A breakup transforms from a source of pain into the opposite pole of deep connection. Financial loss shifts from failure to self-reliance and resourcefulness. Illness transforms from suffering into an invitation to reevaluate your body, stress, and alignment. You are not being punished. You are being shown a contrasta polarity containing a lesson. Shifting your perspective shifts your vibration. Recognizing the operation of polarity transforms your experience of life. You move with grace instead of resistance. Polarity exists not only in emotions or events, but also in identity. The person you dream of becoming already exists as a potential. The confident, wise, and free version of yourself is not a distant fantasy, but a state vibrating on the other end of the spectrum. You do not need to create them from scratch, but simply move toward them, one aligned thought and action at a time. Mastering polarity, as taught by the ancients, is key to inner alchemy transforming lead into gold, not externally, but internally. Pain transforms into wisdom, shame into understanding, and scarcity into creativity. This is true magic, not through incantations, but through conscious perception shifting, vibration elevation, and polarity work. Applying this law to your life eliminates the fear of contrast. You welcome it as energy moving and recognize your power to steer that energy toward your desired direction. This is what it means to be a magician in your own life, shaping raw experience with intention, not by denying polarity, but by mastering it. Life often feels cyclical. You experience moments of success, happiness, and clarity, only to descend into confusion, demotivation, and uncertainty. You may question your actions, but what if these fluctuations are not failures, but a law? The fifth Hermetic principle, rhythm, teaches that everything flows in and out, possessing tides. A pendulum swings in all things, and understanding this swing allows you to either be controlled by it or to harness it. Most individuals resist this swing. They cling to joyful moments, grasping them tightly, and panic during periods of downturn, believing something is inherently wrong. However, rhythm is not a punishment, but a pattern governing seasons. The moon, the ocean, your breath, and your emotions. Everything alive dances to this rhythm. The objective is not to escape the swing, but to learn how to ride it consciously. Hermetic teachings state that the measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Higher highs can result in deeper lows, but greater pain also creates potential for increased joy, growth, and expansion. Those who have experienced the most suffering often develop greater compassion, wisdom, and power. Pain expands your emotional range, granting access to more of life, not less. However, rhythm becomes a prison when you are unconscious of it, identifying with every swing and mistaking each emotional state for your absolute truth. Waking up with anxiety leads to the belief that something must be wrong. Losing motivation leads to the assumption that your goals are meaningless. However, these can simply be manifestations of rhythm. Your energy requires rest, your mind needs to process, and your emotions need to be released. Ceasing to fight the rhythm initiates a shift. You begin to harness it instead of being controlled by it. Recognizing your patterns, weekly slumps, monthly surges, periods of creativity, and periods of stagnation shifts you from judgment to alignment. You plan for these rhythms. You ride the wave when it is high and slow down when it dips. You cease forcing productivity when your system requires reflection, and stop chasing happiness when your soul draws you inward. This is not laziness, but alignment with nature. The system discourages honoring rhythm, promoting constant performance like a machine. However, you are a living, breathing, oscillating being. Your mind, body, and spirit move in waves, and overriding this natural pattern leads to disconnection. Burnout, apathy, and anxiety are not signs of weakness, but symptoms of a life lived out of sync. The pendulum swing also operates on a collective level. History moves in rhythm. Society oscillates between freedom and control, peace and chaos, awareness and ignorance. We are currently experiencing rapid oscillations, with massive shifts in consciousness followed by waves of suppression and distraction. Without awareness of this rhythm, it is easy to become overwhelmed, believing that everything is collapsing. Rhythm teaches us to trust that what goes down will rise again, and that every rise requires grounded awareness. The master does not stop the pendulum, but anchors themselves at the center. This is not emotional numbness, but emotional sovereignty. You feel the waves without drowning in them. You witness the rhythm without being at its mercy. Joy is welcomed without clinging. Grief is experienced without panic. You become the eye of the storm, a still point in a constantly moving world. This principle extends to manifestation and creation. There will be times when your goals feel attainable, the flow is effortless, and everything aligns. Conversely, there will be times when nothing seems to work, regardless of your efforts. The latter does not signify the death of your dream, but a low tide. Trust the process and continue your inner work. Do not abandon the seed simply because it is not growing quickly enough. The swing will return, the tide will rise, and maintaining your center during the ebb will prepare you to receive the flow. Rhythm is not intended to break you, but to teach you that change is natural, stillness is sacred, and forward movement includes pauses. The pendulum will always swing. The choice lies in being a victim of its motion or a master of its flow. Choosing mastery transforms life from a roller coaster to a dance. You cease reacting to every fluctuation and instead glide between them with trust. That is the power of rhythm, the freedom within the swing. Nothing in your life has ever happened by accident. Reflect on that statement. Every thought, emotion, encounter, coincidence, opportunity, and setback is connected to a cause, whether you are aware of it or not. This is not fatalism, but the sixth Hermetic principle, cause and effect, which states, every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. If you consistently find yourself in the same undesirable cycles, this principle serves as a wake-up call. Most individuals live as victims of effects, reacting to life instead of directing it. They attribute events to luck or fate or place blame on others. Hermetic wisdom flips this script, stating, if there is an effect you dislike, do not fight the symptom, change the cause. This requires conscious action rather than autopilot. You must become the cause. The underlying causes are often buried within your subconscious, beliefs, expectations, habits, and emotional patterns. These are the silent forces generating your outcomes. They act as the software running your internal system. If your software believes, I am not worthy, the resulting effects may include toxic relationships, self-sabotage, and missed opportunities. So, to sum it all up, what we've explored here isn't some out-there theory, but a framework for understanding the very fabric of your existence. It's about recognizing that you're not just a passive observer in this world, but an active creator, shaping your reality through your thoughts, emotions, and actions. It's an invitation to step into your power, to understand the underlying laws that govern your life, and to consciously create a reality that aligns with your highest potential. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. What resonated most with you? Do you have any questions or insights you'd like to share? Leave a comment below and let's get a conversation going. And if you found this helpful and want to dive deeper into topics like this, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future explorations of consciousness, self-mastery, and the hidden architecture of reality. Thanks for being here.